Hello and God bless you. Today is a day that we're going to celebrate. It's a 50-year marriage for Pat and I, and it's the year of Jubilee. So we're going to talk about marriage. Hey, Deacon.
Hi, dear.
I'm so glad you married you.
And what holiday is coming up?
Valentine's.
Day. And my wife wrote some lovely articles, and so she's going to kind of lead the way, and she has written actually many articles about marriage and ones that point especially to Valentine's Day and celebrating marriage.
Yes.
So, and she's really good at it.
Thank you. And you're such my good editor. I say, can't take a bow, though. It's like praying for someone. I just say, Lord. Anyway, today we're in a crown, you may have noticed, and some of that come in different kinds of things, but it's because when you're a girl and you're a young girl, you want to be a princess. We have some grandbabies, and all they talk about is being a princess. Like, there's so many princesses we know, right? Like Princess, the princess in Frozen, and what is her name? It's all Cinderella.
It's a cartoon, I don't know.
Cinderella and Snow White are some princesses. So
Ariel, is that her name?
I think that's Ariel's one of the princesses. But you grew up thinking that when you grow up and get married, you're going to be the princess. I wore my crown today to remind me that all girls are princesses, and a good husband straightens the crown, right? It's only in make-believe land that the princess lives happily ever after unless they work on their marriage. And so the groom, which better known as the knight in shining armor, on their wedding day, they're all excited that they're going to be man and wife. In our church, right, it's a sacrament, marriage.
Correct.
So without which, for us at least, we got married at Sunset by the Ocean. We didn't know all the rules. I was a fallen away Catholic, and we had our marriage blessed in the church.
Blessed by the church.
Because if anybody out there is listening, and you don't know about being blessed in the church, gives you the sacrament of matrimony gives you the grace to live the life. So we're talking about, right? Do you want to add anything to that? Because it is a big deal. Some people don't know the rules. And we were only married a month. My mom had called a priest, Father Kunkel, to marry us. On Valentine's Day, made that be a special thing to request from your spouse, is that, we need the grace.
It took the church a while in terms of its understanding of that, but Jesus very clearly said, let no man put asunder what God has joined together. So that marriage, if God is joining us together, then it's a sacrament because God's involved. And so we need to listen and obey.
Yes, and so for me, it's not that hard. It's all about love. I would say that I'm wearing in honor of this talk. Besides wearing my little crown, I'm wearing my wedding dress, and I was just happy because
she loves to dress up.
Like
Don't let her
keep
you.
I'm a dresser girl. But I did wear it in honor of the fact that we got married, and you put on your best self, like your Sunday best for church. But on your wedding day, you do feel like a princess, and the man feels like a shining armored groom on his horse to take the bride off and ride away in the sunset. So I hope this is loud enough today. Did we check our loud? Because the other day we unfortunately had no sound as much as we wanted. So what we're going to talk about is that when the princess, in the eyes of the groom, or it's knight in shining armor, falls off he falls off his throne and she does as well, and then they start looking at each other like roommates or brother and sister.
Or my wife would say, when the honeymoon is over.
We don't do that. We don't have time to go. So in my book, I just wrote this article. It's going to go hopefully in Southern Cross magazine to talk about what's the some things you can do when you start to feel like you're in a rut.
Well, and I think Ellen makes the point that you have to work at your marriage. You can't just, it may be real easy the first year or so, but when children arrive, which puts stresses start to come, is you have to work at your relationship and keeping your marriage where it needs to be. And that's why we talk a lot about grace, because if you keep turning to God, and what she says in her talk, which is the obvious thing, is to make sure that you're in prayer, and which means you're connecting with God because you need God's grace. And then so that when you get married, and she likes to say, 1 plus 1 equals 1,
and
rather than 2, because God's involved and brings us all together as one. If we let Him be involved, we have to work at it. We have to pray, and so
you have to go to the sacraments. confession, but we're going to talk about those as well. But you do have the grace, but is it a feeling?
No.
No, and that's unfortunate.
It's a decision.
It's
a will.
Decision. I love the movie. What's that movie? Princess
Bride.
No, it's another one. It's with the knights in shining armor, and it's that she says, "My heart is strong. My will is stronger than my heart." Because the heart can deceive you. You can be like, "Oh yeah, I really like that. I really love this. I really like," and it could be your eyes could wander, and then you're setting yourself up for mundane in your marriage. So, marriage is mundane, or is it marvelous? And we're going to talk about how to make the princess come alive again and be on the queen of the home and the prince to be king of his castle. And so, first thing we're going to talk about, like he said, was prayer. So, what do you suggest they do if they're in a
Yeah, I
marriage?
think you made a good suggestion in terms of, like, some people are uncomfortable with that, but you could even actually start to pray even before you get married together. When you get together, you can say, "Come, Holy Spirit," and as Ellen suggested, if you're uncomfortable, just say the Lord's Prayer.
And see, some people, even now to this day, people we know that are married a long time, they never thought of praying together. See, because in the old days, which Pat was a convert, so in the old days, people didn't pray that much prayers from their heart. They prayed more the standard
rote prayers,
and they didn't pray together like a spouse. So Pat and I, on a good week, we either pray first thing before we get out of bed, which we did today, because I said let's just pray, and also pray at 8:00 usually to just join our hearts together. We read books together, or we read the scripture of the day. We talk about it. I insist on the talking part. And we need to talk, because we're going to have to know what you're thinking. Because you may read a scripture and you think one thing and I think something else. Like my mom thought about Mary and Martha, totally different than me, who was a Mary, and my mom was a Martha. So you keep your eye focused on the Lord. One guy, one Deacon Dave, he used to put a box, like a little white box, in everybody's desk when he was teaching the engaged weekend. Just a little white box, and everyone had to open it. And inside the box was God. And he said, put that in a place in your home, the box. And it would always make God the center of your marriage. I thought that was good. So what do you think about praying? We pray together when things do go better. We may not notice it, but if we skip a few days, I know that we need to pray. And you know what? Prayer doesn't have to be long, right?
Right.
It doesn't have to be.
But it's good to, just kind of try to increase it. And it's hard when we had young kids. It was hard to, other than to do like family prayer, where we would say a rosary or some other prayers. And so those kind of things are good, especially when you have young kids and you don't have, it's really hard to carve out the time. Other than, most people were able to carve out the time is either early in the morning or after the kids are in bed. So your life circumstances make a difference. Because Ellen and I'm retired, and so we may pray for a half an hour or an hour together besides our private prayer. So we have the time to do that, but not everybody does. So.
And if people suggest always 5 minutes of prayer is good too, but I'm just an overachiever, and not that I think that I'm gaining grace by praying. I know how much I need the Lord every day, so I go like I'm kind of a beggar. So the first one was prayer, and then the second one. What was the second one? Do you want to say or no? Because I'm on the list. I'm half blind, and I'm pretending like I'm a princess, and princesses don't wear glasses apparently. But the second one is communication. Now, Pat and I married 50 years. This is our 50th year marriage. Last year we missed the 50-year blessing of our marriage. And my mom was with us and she was dying, so we had to miss that. But we just came around again this week, so that's a really good thing to do, is celebrate marriages that are long-standing. But communication isn't the easiest thing if you are a typical man. We'll say a typical woman. What is typical though? Right. There's no typical. So I'm a girly girl, and that's a guy. He's like amazing. Because it was that new term they call it. It's not macho, but whatever. Oh, he's like alpha. Is that a good term? He's alpha male. He's like a man. I didn't want to be married any other way. I have a strong, manly man who leads our family. Then there are times when I put in my opinion, maybe daily. and then I always tell him, "Oh, I don't agree, but it takes a strong woman to lay down her opinion." But communication does not come easy. If you are saying, "Man, we don't have a problem with that anyway. We want to meet you, shake your hand, and take a study under you. We want to learn from you," because it's a difficult thing, communication.
And part of the reason for that is because men are different. Their brains men and women's brains are different, and women tend to be more integrated, and men tend to be, they can be more focused on one thing, and the typical scenario that gets the point across in terms of communication is, the husband's been out fishing with his buddy and comes back in the afternoon, and the wife asks, well, did you have a good time? Yeah. What'd you talk about? Nothing.
I think managed. I won't say nothing just because of being confidential. I'm not telling you. Not a word leaves this room. But you know what? Communication also can be, like, you could read the same scripture, we all understand this, and you see something different in it. So then in communication, I used to tell Pat all the time, I said, let's go for ice cream. He says, do you want to go for ice cream? I said, it'd be great. And I meant in silence for you, because I'm allergic to ice cream. I'm lactose intolerant. But he never knew, because I would just play along, let's go for ice cream, and take a bite. And that is how communication can differ. If you even are a little bit of an actress like me, you want to say, you don't like the guy feel like he can't eat ice cream, so it'd be good for you. That's understood. Or if you're a spender and you have clothes in the closet and you say, is that dress new? It's been in the closet for months. Mm-hmm. These are ways to communicate. They're wrong probably, but
And it's really important in terms of communication, especially when you're having kids to take care of. I mean, it's always important to communicate, but when you've got kids, you got to communicate with each other and be consistent and work together. And so what you communicate to the kids, and you're communicating whether you say anything to them or not. And so you are communicating something all the time. And so you want to have good communications. And there are lots of self-help books to help you with communication, like Gary Smalley, who has written a lot of stuff, and Ray Guarendi. And so,
Ray.
Yeah, so there are good books, good Christian books out there that can help. And love languages, knowing your love languages, as Ellen points out, and languages of apology. And so these are all things that can help in terms of communicating.
And another thing is don't keep your husband in the dark on what's going on with the kids. Pat had a job where he was out of town. So, and the day we didn't have cell phones, we had beepers. We just didn't. And so I'd take a notebook, and I'd put time in book, and I'd write the things that I want to talk to him about when he came home. And all the kids were, by the time he came home and all the kids were ready to eat, I'd probably forgotten that problem was huge at the time, and then smaller. That's more women. The problem could seem really big, and then it just seems to go from mountain to a molehill, the opposite of molehill to a mountain. Balance in life for the everyday wife. I want to do it. I want to do a conference that I got to ask Father, because I have a whole talk on keeping a balance, and it's really hard to do if you're an extremist like me. Mm-hmm. Balance is hard, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think about balance?
Well,
God
in terms
first,
of right.
Husband second, then the children, then the in-laws or parents,
family,
and
extended community,
and then friends, and then outside activities.
Right.
Like if the husband is working a lot and he's not keeping a balance, you got to say, by the way, I have all these kids and I want to share them with you. We didn't have a problem. I didn't care. I didn't make Pat be the heavier when he came
what
home.
We've seen, even within our own family, it can be tough in terms of balance because of kids' activities. That seems to be a cultural problem in many ways in terms of families being consumed by their children's activities, in terms of getting meals together, because that's really important and it's part of communication and a part of all your family culture. When people talk about culture, each family, in a sense, has its own culture. Mm-hmm. And so, in this idea of we are the Mongans and this is what we do. Because as your kids get older, they start to say things, well, so-and-so does this. Mm-hmm. And often I would say, well, I don't care what they do. This is what we do.
And they would listen in those days.
And some of them have picked up a lot of that in terms of in their own families. So, yeah, we need to have a balance in terms of work, and you got to communicate about that.
That's the other thing. I think some wives don't say anything, and then they are overwhelmed, or they're tired, just plain tired, and they need a break, and they don't say a word. So then they get mad because the husband doesn't know that they're exhausted. So it's good to communicate, and it's not good to dump. It really isn't good to dump. I tend to dump if I'm good. I dump. Oh, now I'm not good. It is what it is. We are all personalities, but God has never expected you to change your personality. He expects you to get sin out of your life.
So what about needs?
Needs. Is that on the list? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, needs. What are our needs?
Yeah.
Oh, needs like self-care. Is that what you mean?
That's part of it.
Sometimes you need a nap. Sometimes I need food. Sometimes I go, baby, I have to eat something.
No, is you make the point that your spouse can't necessarily meet all your needs.
Oh, I love that
You
one.
need,
That
need
was
girlfriends.
inspiration.
You need, because there are things that literally I can talk about or she can talk about, and I'm like, what is she talking about? I mean,
There you go. But you know what else? The men need someone too. I suggested parents because sometimes a parent knows you better than you know yourself.
mm-hmm.
And so we had one child go to the in-laws instead of us, and it saddened us because we really had the answer for the people
Right.
that did. But anyway, so you really
Because she didn't want to get the answer.
But the thing is, the truth is, you have parents. They raise you. They might say, like we have one daughter that when she was little, until probably now, she was hangry. So we know she's not really mad. She's just a little hungry. It's very important to know who you are. And if you don't know yourself, make sure you have a network of caring friends, especially the girls. Men do the same, though. They don't talk. They don't talk when they're fishing or when they're golfing, but they know they have that support. They have your back, and I think that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
And then to get a spiritual director, perhaps a mentor, or even a counselor if you have some trouble. That's way beyond.
Or a good, mature spiritual friend.
That's right. But some things are. I mean, we have the sweetest people in our family. One daughter-in-law was asking Pat some questions. Can you put your doctor hat on? We admired that when they come to Pat. There's one daughter that comes to Pat a lot, and he gives some good advice. You need your parents. It's not like they're dead. It's like you went out of the house and moved out, and they're not going to follow you like a wagon behind you. They're going to be helicopter parents. Yes, they're going to be there when you need them, and when you don't need them, they're going to be applauding that you're doing okay. But even if you're doing okay, there are times. So.
Right, and you need to, as she says, in terms of, are you doing okay? In terms of, you got to care for yourself. It's like I would tell patients and caregivers of patients in terms of the caregivers need to take care of themselves so that they can be available to take care of the family member who needs them and needs their help and their support. And that's true in families in terms of one spouse. If they're not healthy mentally and emotionally, it affects the whole family. And so got to take care of yourself too, to some degree. You don't want to be selfish about it, but we all have to have care.
And I suggested, because I'm married to Pat, as you said, we're the opposites. Sometimes you just need a break to get away and, go on retreat or get a break and go on a little mini vacation with the girlfriends. I used to do that, and I still try to, but as you get older and more complicated. But it's really important to have that support system, and that would be self-care. Now we're going to go on to date night. Now this is my personal favorite because I think I'm a princess in my mind all the time. I like to dress up and get all glitzed out and go out with Pat like we're, dating. And then he likes to be casual, and I give him free permission. And we do the date, and everyone kind of just looks at us like.
She likes to say, dress up Barbie.
And
casual Ken.
Movie ruined it, like My Crown is Curtain.
Yeah.
But that movie kind of ruined it because Barbie kind of took over.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of women that take over the men. I'm really just not a fan. It's easy for me to say because I was a second child and I had a very strong sibling support system, and I had to defer or die. But I also do believe in it. It's very important to be able to state your opinion, though. See, I was wrong in that, along with the ice cream. I didn't state my opinion. I just thought Pat would know. And I would just go along. And I had to learn to say what I think before I just buckle under and just do it.
As part of communication, we don't read each other's minds.
That is an important quality of communication. I'm also not a time watcher, and he is, so we better move on. But date night could be anything from going bowling with friends. I prefer date night to be just Pat and I. We just worked on this year of our life, and we take a lot of times, because we don't get a date night every single week. We go on a vacation. We just got back from Florida. We take for a small weekend away at Hilton Head. We have dear friends and a dear friend, priest from McDowell in the McCardles. And we go away because we have to change the scenery. Even with little children, they say that. Your baby's acting out. Let's take them outside. Your baby's acting out. Let's take them
and
outside.
if you have young kids, is maybe you can, get to know some other couple and take turns watching each other's kids so that you can each get a date night, because it really was. We tried to do that, and we could rely on my parents when they were here, and
that's true.
And then, of course, as the kids get older, and if they're capable of babysitters, then we can get away, just the two of us. And that's important.
And then, you be thankful if you have those sports as with the parents. We always offer the kids ways to use each other, which we are kind of happy because that's a lot for our age.
And here's a really important topic that you listen. That's forgiveness.
Oh yeah, it's a big one. And bitterness unforgiveness goes into bitterness, and then you don't see it coming, and then the rug comes out.
Right.
And you both hurt each other's heart.
You blow up.
Just never. You both blow up. At the same time, bricks flying right in the face. No, it's really important to have forgiveness. What do you do for forgiveness?
I ask your forgiveness.
He does. He does.
Sorry for doing blah blah blah. Please forgive me.
I love it, and I also do forgiveness sheets at times where I talk it out with someone, or I talk it out with God. Usually, I say, I remember before Mom died, I was not at the best with her in that. I love my mom, but I really wasn't her best bud. I wasn't her preference. I wasn't a favorite child. But the night before she died, I'll never forget, because she wasn't a strong Catholic Christian or Christian at all. And the Lord had me forgive little things in her life. And I thought that was kind of weird. I pray in the middle of the night sometimes. So I'm forgiving this, that, the other thing. Next morning I woke up and she was fine. And then I said, hello, good morning. And she died. And I said, Lord, I'm so glad. You can hold someone bound. If you want forgiveness in your heart and they died, you better start writing those forgiveness sheets, because God that gets them freedom. If you hold people bound, they're bound in heaven or on earth. It binds them. I'm quick to forgive. I sometimes will try to work out a solution. That's what I think about. Bitterness, you work out a solution. You can't keep walking around the same mountain. Say there's a street with a hole, and you keep going in the hole with your high heel. You keep breaking your shoulder.
Yeah,
you gotta do that. You gotta say, okay, this doesn't work for me.
Well, and one more thing that we cover is just if you find yourself thinking a lot of negative thoughts about your spouse, is really make the effort. Again, it takes work. Make the effort to remember those good times, to point to the good times, and to put be more positive, and understand that the difficult times. It's like following Jesus. There's going to be hard times following Jesus. He never said it was going to be easy, and so it takes work each day to do what he wants you to do, and to try to do the good that you should be doing, and the same with you towards your spouse, in terms of doing good towards your spouse, because one of the key aspects of marriage is to help each other get to heaven.
You should have done this catechism on right. Catechism is to rub off the rough edges.
So I thought
I have 3 left.
No,
I really finished. I was going to say, this is the most important one. Yes, Song of Solomon.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that going well, you know what I'm saying? You romance your wife.
Sure.
And in order to be romanced, though, woman, just from the woman's side, try to look your best. Be clean and smell good, and be ready for romancing. Solomon Solomon's girl that he was in love with, she took his breath away. And you want to always be able to take your husband's breath away. Same with him, right? To be clean and look good. If she prefers blue, you wear blue. Or if she likes black, wear black. Or if she says, I really love it when you blah, 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 then you do it. It's not supposed to be, marriage is not supposed to be a, what's it called when the kids do that? A sword fight.
Right.
It's not supposed to be that. It's supposed to be like a match made in heaven, where you do your best to wake up every day and bless the person next to you.
Right.
Not to just try to hurt them, or if they say, I don't like this, then do it anyways. That kind of is ugly. I don't do ugly.
Sure.
I just don't think it's good. But if it happens and you did it on purpose, you say, I'm so sorry. I know you don't like, me polishing your tools. Organizing your underwear drawer. He doesn't prefer that. So anyways.
So I thought I'd end by reading this last part of her little article.
Okay.
Is it time for you to change lanes? Ask the Lord what you need to work on. Then put on your blinker and cross over from mundane to marvelous. Mm-hmm. Will it take work? Of course it will. But it's worth the effort. God will provide the grace.
Thank you.
Bye for now. Ellen's got to hurry. She's after the doorbell of her heart ringing. It's my Prince Charming calling. He's ready for our royal date. I cannot wait. And they lived happily ever after.
Thank you, baby. We're traveling
along,
singing that song. We're up a little bit,
side by side. God bless.
Thank you for listening. Tell a friend.